This is John. What I have today I'm working on is a customer has no cooling, and the unit's only 3 years old, and usually if the unit's not that old and if it has like this type of design where the coil's on top and then the condenser coil's on top, and it has this basically type of setup, I've noticed that these little copper tubes from the factory, when they route them, sometimes the tubes will be touching another tube, and as vibration from using the unit over a few years punctures a hole in the line. And that's exactly what happened. That's the hissing sound you're hearing is right here. See that right there? And then see how it rubbed against here, and it's right there. Look at that. See how much it rubbed off of there in just about 2 to 3 years, and how much it rubbed onto the oh, let's see here. Where's it at? Right here. How much is rubbed right there? Because this was right here from the factory, just sitting like that. So whenever you install one of these units, make sure you pull all those tubes off, because what'll happen is this unit has a 10-year parts warranty, but the manufacturer won't cover it. I just called them and they said unless it's a part, they're not going to cover it. So in that situation, as a installer, you want to make sure that when you install one of these units, just so you don't give the customer bad news on their unit that's only a few years old, double check those copper tubes. Make sure they're all isolated. They're not touching any of the other tubes. See, even these here were touching. I did not install this unit. So I'm going through, I'm checking all the tubes to make sure they're not touching. So you don't want two copper lines touching each other. Just vibration over time rubs right through each other. So I got to repair that tiny little tube. My goal to repair it is I'm going to take this little tube. Well, first I'm going to cut out the section that's bad, slip this in there, then pinch off the corners and braze the corners, and then evacuate and recharge it. The other thing too is I might also add a little filler on that tube there, the big tube, if it looks like it needs it. Also, on cutting tube this small, you can't really use a tubing cutter. It's just too small. So, because if you use a tubing cutter, it'll close that hole. As using a tubing cutter, it basically presses that tube in smaller and allows less inside diameter flow. So what I always try to do is I use a file, and I file it and file it and file it, and then I can wiggle it loose and break it without causing the inside diameter to shrink from using a tubing cutter as it pinches it. That's all I got.